State Senator Dr. John Bizon is our guest in the studio. Good morning, Dr. Bizon.
Good morning, Tim. It's always great to be with you. This is a nice warm morning when we get together.
Yeah, I guess you could look at it that way unless you step outside. It's pretty chilly out there right now. It's going to be decent today. But yeah, I think I asked Representative Matt Hall this when he was here the other day. The weather we've had, along with the holidays, that's kind of probably messed up your schedule up there in Lansing. Has it affected Lansing a lot?
It really has moved us back just a couple of days. We were trying to be just a little bit ahead in our schedule of hearings and testimony and meetings, and we have a lot of constituents who have been coming through who are affected by the things that we do, and they all got pushed back just a little bit. I know that I was supposed to be with Rebecca Fleury later this afternoon, and that got pushed back another week in order to fill in some of the activities that we haven't had time for. And, it was great being at home where it was safe and
Right,
relatively warm. And
well, we had 3 days where the weather kind of canceled Lansing. And at least, unless you happen to be a fireman or a police officer, they were still working strong. But so there was those 3 days, and then we had Martin Luther King Day and President's Day. Now, at least we knew about those, so we probably had already scheduled around them. So.
no, those days we knew that we had, but it's those other couple of days that have really set us back just a little bit, and we'll look forward to making them up. We are in the process of filling in the schedules. I know this week I was working until 6, 7, 9 o'clock at night with various meetings, and
Yeah.
We're trying to get all the work done.
And I know all of you lawmakers were busy yesterday in session. The governor was here in Battle Creek at a regional manufacturing technology center, and part of her state of the state address was about sending every kid to at least community college, and so it was encouraging that she made this her first stop here to look at what we've done in Battle Creek with our technology center.
I think that they're doing just a great job out there. I like touting it to my other senators up in Lansing and saying we've got this great facility, we've got this great industrial park down here that's really a gem. It's a jewel that we need to make sure that they're able to function, and not only function but thrive. And I think that's going to be very good for not only Calhoun County but all of the surrounding areas as well. Grand Rapids has been doing a great job with their job technology as well. They have the new medical corridor up there, and that's going great guns, and that's a research hub now, and they're doing great things. You look at their inner city a few years ago, and it was pretty depressing, and you take a look at all the revitalization that they have done. Because of my schedule in Lansing, I wasn't able to make it down for the governor's visit down here, but Karen from my office was here, Karen Todd, and she's been doing a lot of that for me.
You have a really solid staff, and are ready, poised and ready to serve the constituents of the 19th district, aren't you?
I am very, very happy to report that 3 of the 4 people I have in my office are from within the Senate district, and a lot of them have ties to Battle Creek. Karen Todd has been here for a number of years, and she represents me mainly when I cannot be here. Oftentimes she'll be at the Calhoun County Legislative Breakfast, which is held in June. She'll do some of the chamber breakfasts in Homer and Albion and Marshall, as well as Battle Creek when I'm tied up in Lansing. I love getting to these events, but with the territory that I represent being quite so spacious, perhaps I could say, it takes a while to get from point A to point B. And
Karen covers all the breakfasts, but you still make all the lobster dinners.
I try to take her to many of those with me, and just last week we were at one of the events, maybe the Urban League dinner, and I, and Terrace were all there. Of course, she has been a long-time member of that organization as well, and we try to do our very best to get out there and be active within our individual communities. I know that they expect to see her oftentimes when we are out in Albion. I think that Jake, my chief of staff, Jake Gelsma, is from Barry County. He's a graduate of Thornapple Kellogg High School out there, and he's been living in Middleville nearly all of his life. He's one of the trustees out there. He's an integral member of the community, and he's been directing my prior campaigns because he's got a lot more political experience than I. And my legislative director is Dave Bizos, and Dave used to be working for the state majority leader. He has a great deal of knowledge of how to get bills moved, how to get things done in the Lansing community. And with his 20 plus years of experience, he is just a pleasure to have on board, and you just could not ask for a better legislative director. The other one who is working with me, of course, is Ben McLeod, and he too has been one of the staples around here. Ben lives in Assyria Township, just north of Calhoun County, over on the Barry County side, and he's been for the last couple of years over at Western Michigan University, where he was the president, well, he was the co-chair of the College Republicans statewide. And he is active in the state party, and so he has significant ties there. But he too goes through Barry County and will represent me, comes down to Calhoun County when Karen is otherwise tied up, and oftentimes we do have three things going on at once where it keeps all of us running in different directions.
Sounds like you have a very well-balanced staff there to, get you input and assistance in a lot of different areas. If one of your constituents in the 19th district has a beef with the state or local government, or just doesn't know where else to turn for some assistance, what should they do?
I would encourage them to call my office, because that's the very best way to get in touch with me. I oftentimes half jokingly say that these are my bosses that I work with. When they tell me to show up, I show up, and oftentimes when I'm in the office and say, yes, we will address this, that we as a collective that it'll be me and the team putting this together.
Sure.
And oftentimes the groundwork is done by Karen, Jake, Ben, and Dave. I would encourage people, if they have a beef, to get back to your question, to get in touch with my staff, get in touch with my office. The easiest way is to call us at area code 517-373-2426. I'm going to give you that number one more time, if I may, Tim.
Sure.
That's area code 517-373-2426.
All right.
And, that'll be hopefully answered relatively quickly, and we can find out what the issue is. A lot of things that we don't deal with, we'll be referring you to the federal government if it's a federal issue, if it's a Medicare issue, if it's a veteran affairs issue. Those are federal agencies rather than state agencies. But if it does have something to do with your driver's license, if it has something to do with state regulation, then we are the SOP.
State Senator Dr. John Bizon is our guest here at 95.3 WBCK. First thing I wanted to ask you about, the governor issued an order that basically would dissolve some Department of Environmental Quality panels, oversight panels, I guess they are, that were instituted under the previous administration, and the Senate and House said, "No, wait a minute, we're keeping these." What was that all about from your point of view?
Well, the governor had some difficulties with the panels, and she has the responsibility to administer the laws of this state. And she wanted to reorganize the laws to make sure that her requirements were satisfied, and so she issued this executive order that got rid of 3 of the panels that we had legally passed into law, and for whatever reason, there was some consternation that we were perhaps not listening to our citizens, that these panels would let bureaucrats who, are unelected officials a great deal of power, and we felt that people still needed to have some voice in the discussion, and we couldn't just let bureaucrats run rampant on the system for whatever reason.
So with the panels, how does it work when shaping environmental policy?
Oftentimes the DEQ has been very, very difficult to work with, as the report that I have. When I talk to some of our business community, our farming community, things go into the DEQ and they just meet obstruction after obstruction. They think that they have met all the requirements, and suddenly there are new barriers that are put up, and there was some thought that perhaps we need to have that input directly into the DEQ in that rulemaking process that governs things. And I have to say that at first I was concerned that I'd be coming here with a very unhappy answer for you, saying that no, that we didn't come up with a consensus. But I am happy to report that she has issued a second order after we rejected the first.
Mm-hmm.
And that second order got rid of one of the panels, kept the other 2. And I haven't seen the exact wording as of yet, but I am told that it is acceptable to both the leadership of the House and the Senate. So we appear to have come to a agreeable compromise on this particular solution.
Well, is that an indication of how things are going to go, you think, in the next 4 years of Governor Whitmer, that there will be a little posturing and pushing back and forth, and then some consensus reached?
I would very much like to see that be the pattern for what is going to happen, because all too often you sit in your corner and you don't even talk to the other side. I would very much enjoy having a discussion with the governor's people on any of the bills that we have passing through my committees. And so we'll be reaching out, trying to get them down. And as you know, a large part of what I do there is appropriations, and that is always one of the sticky points. We're very eager to see her budget, which is supposed to be coming out perhaps in the first week of March here, if not the following week. And that's going to give us a great idea as to what is going on, and where her priorities lie, and where we can easily find compromise, and where we need to have continued discussion.
One of those areas where it might be difficult to find that compromise may be on road repairs. Her mantra was fix the damn roads. Now the mantra seems to be, yeah, we're going to jack your taxes into oblivion to get it done. But then there are the other side is like, no, we got enough money. We just need to reallocate that and figure out what our priorities are. What's your view on how we're going to get this road stuff done? Because we got to do something.
Well, there are those who would argue that there are several approaches that we could take. Part of the caucus, I am sure, would be happy with, let's see what happens over the next couple of years, because we're going to be continuing to pour more and more money in already, year by year. Let's make sure that that gets funded.
But that's already been settled and in the works.
That is correct,
yeah.
But we haven't seen the funding as of yet, and the funding levels are going to be increasing already over the next couple of years. As you and I have talked about many times, I don't think that we're building the best roads that we can. And I think that the research into why the roads are crumbling so quickly, the research into how can we do it better, ought to be funded out, be more than willing. That budget is something in the order of $5.3 billion right now. And over the next few years, we'll probably be getting very close to $6 billion. And I wouldn't mind spending some tens or even up to $100 million doing the research into finding how do we do it better, how can we. It would be a big push for our universities. I'd love to keep this in state. I'd like to ask the corporations of this state. In the past, I was down at Dow Chemical, and I asked them, what are you going to do to make our roads better? And they said, we're working on it, and we're hoping to have an answer for you in the next year or two. And this is 3-4 years ago, you understand. So I think we need to look to our businesses, to look to our universities, and see how we can do it better, because we nearly doubled the spending that we have over the last couple of years, and it seems like we're always $1.2 billion behind, no matter how much we spend. And we want to spend the money wisely.
Briefly, before we run out of time, Dr. Bizon, the auto insurance reform, that's been a big one too, and I know you've been, keeping a close eye on that. Any developments? Where are we going with that? Is anything going to happen anytime soon?
We do anticipate that something's going to happen within the next 3-4 months, and I don't know if you consider that soon or a long time from now, but in terms of legislative movement, you have light speed typically at the end of a session, but on the other hand, you have the regular process that goes through. One committee has hearings. This has committee hearings going on both sides at the same time, so I do anticipate that we're going to have some sort of resolution. But the question becomes, is there going to be agreement once there is a plan developed? And that has always been the stumbling block in the past. We have 2 different committees that are working on it. There's a special auto no-fault insurance committee chaired by Eric Nesbitt, who is in the Senate taking a special look at it, and he'll be getting a lot of input from the insurance committee, which is headed up by Lana Tice, and she is doing insurance and banking. Both of them are striving to deal with the #1 problem for Michigan motorists, and that's the high cost of our auto insurance policies. I would maintain that if we only address this to one sector, such as putting a fee schedule, that's not going to get us the savings that we need. Everyone who has been touching the system has failed. Well, they succeeded in maximizing their profits, but failed in the hope to keep us able to pay these premiums. And I would argue that if you're going to do fee schedules for auto no-fault medical claims, then you probably need to have fee schedules on the repairs, fee schedules for lawyers, fee schedules for care workers, and throughout the entire gamut.
I see some special interest infighting possible there.
And coming to consensus is always good, but I don't know that I'm going to be supportive of something that doesn't truly give our citizens the breaks that they deserve.
Comprehensive
repair.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much, State Senator Dr. John Bizon. We'll talk to you again in a month.
I love it. Thank you so much. Great being with you, Tim.